Good morning, everybody. Neighbor here. Hope you're having a super blessed Sunday. I'm just out here doing some work on the old '04 Ford Explorer. As my daddy would probably say, the saga continues. But I bought this from my uncle after my mother had owned it for about 17 years because I wanted to keep it in the family. You know, it's in decent enough shape, but not perfect. So it was having transmission issues before my mom sold it to my uncle. They weren't improved any when he had it. Probably did some ill-advised towing with it, and lack of servicing. So all those things kind of just slowly add up and add up and add up. Well, after I had the transmission rebuilt, that was about 2,000 miles ago. I had them reprogram everything. It's a transmission shop. It's like what they do. And he already knew about the 5R55W, and he wanted to basically say, well, I can rebuild it. It'll be basically perfect. And it got it back, and it shifted okay for a little while. Still a little firm. Like, he even said that. Like, he's like, man, it just shifts so tough, and I'm like, so not right. Which is what I was thinking. And anyway, he finally was like, well, if you're still having problems, bring it by. I brought it by. They checked it out for a little while. Couldn't get nothing done with it. So now it's in the relearn process. And that was kind of a funky Cole Medina shift, but it hasn't shifted hard yet at all. So I'll take whatever that stumble was over how it's been shifting. But basically, after some research on the internet, come across a couple people that said take the negative cable off, cover the negative post on the battery. It's something insulated. You can use alligator clips. I use jumper cables because it's what I had. So I just took the same jumper cable that I would hook from the positive on a car to the positive on another, and hooked it to the positive on the truck while it's still connected to the battery, and then connected that into the negative cable, not connected to the battery, and also protected from touching the negative post. Let the car sit for about 5-10 minutes, and then come back, disconnect the cables, whatever you're using, and then plug in the reconnect the negative cable, start the car, let it run for 10 minutes so it can go through the throttle relearn, because that's also a thing. Like, all this is how Ford designed the engine to be, and I basically really had to dig for it, because everybody just says, we'll rebuild the transmission, replace this, replace that, and it's like, well, it had all the gears before, it just shifted weird into them. Like, it would connect and it wouldn't slip or nothing. Sometimes it would just go into neutral and like rev to 3,000 or 4,000 and then slam into the next gear that was at like 1,500 RPM. So it was kind of disheartening, because I was always battling that, information, because I knew that, if the transmission place that's been doing transmissions for 30 years with a lot of experience with the Explorers, because they do have, a lot of known issues with their transmissions. Like here, it would clunk in the first sometimes. Oh my goodness, that's the smoothest it's been. We're gonna do light throttle shifts. So it's already in third. Okay, that was a hard shift. In the fourth. Now we're in fifth. And the converter locked up. Watch out, little turkey birds. But anyway, so I basically am just posting this to put some fresh information out there that's accurate. It doesn't mean it's perfect, and it doesn't mean it'll solve your issues. It doesn't mean that's what your issue is. This is what my issue is. And I have been from both sides of it. So the only thing I could think of to do at this point is get one of those big diagnostic readers and connect it to the computer and just watch what the shift pressures say versus how it feels, do a live running of that, so you could go through and feel when it goes to a gear and a gear and a gear and check that line pressure. But overall it should be pretty smooth all the time, but for whatever reason mine just likes to act like a turd, because of course it would, and I spend a lot of money trying to get it back to basically stock because I just want it to run good and work well. But anytime you adventure on something, there's always going to be a little bit of a learning curve. Unfortunately, I'm not a Ford technician. I did 21 years in the Navy, trying to learn how to work on submarine equipment as a machinist mate auxiliaryman. Then I was on an amphibious class assault ship, plus a bunch of shore duties that were all geared around engineering stuff, but it was all like very large equipment. When I get in here and work on stuff, it's not tweeny bopper stuff, but it's mostly, it's just built for personal use, not like commercial or industrial use, which would be your steps up in larger equipment. So I try to be pretty thorough when I study what I'm doing. I like to go through and get a lot of information and then just go stab at it and see how it works. Hey, slow down, buddy. Generally speaking, like every turkey in the world's out today. Generally speaking, I try to get stuff done methodically. Buy the cheap parts first. Unless you can identify exactly what it is, go with the cheap stuff and work your way into it. I'm not a big parts cannon fan. I do understand that sometimes that is the quicker, better way to do it, but it's definitely not always cheaper. But all the YouTubers I watch, people that do automotive content, almost exclusively, they're trying to not only show you how to do something, but be entertaining. So, I post content. I'm not necessarily trying to be entertaining. Obviously you don't want to be boring, but I'm just trying to be thorough, because I want you to get an answer that you need, or be helpful in a way where maybe somebody else is being a little bit more, they're stuck in their bubble. So even though my problem may not be yours, maybe somebody out there runs into it and they go, ooh, that video really told me what to do, and I told you right up front what to do and the process and the procedure for it, so you don't have to wait till the 16.5-minute mark in a 17-minute long video to get the answer. You can just click on it, get the answer. If you want to stay to hear me kind of ramble on about the process of how I came to those conclusions, I'll do it. But this one was pretty straightforward. It had 229,000 miles on it. It had never been rebuilt. It had probably, I know my dad serviced it once because he said he did, and he was pretty knowledgeable. He talked through what he had done to change the fluid. I had the fluid checked when I purchased it. That didn't seem to help any of the shifting issues, so I knew it wasn't a fluid problem, fluid/filter problem. It was working as designed. It was something in the logic, but because it would go to that neutral and then slam into the next gear, to me that was either an indication that something was severely wore out, misaligned, or otherwise broken. So when I got back to this situation where I'm just trying to, I know the transmission's good, I'm just trying to sort out the hard shifting. Like this thing's shifting. If it was a two-wheel drive car, I mean, it would almost chirp the tires shifting from first to second sometimes under light throttle. like just pow, and you're like, oh my goodness, like why is this thing shifted so hard? Because the logic in it, you know, whatever those parameters are, what I'm going to say is it's an electronic drift scenario where slowly over time it just kept adding value. You know, it could be a bad ground where it's not bad enough to fail when you look at the diagnostics, but it's bad enough that it can slip under the radar, and if it goes unchecked for months, then a problem arises, you know. And I guess you could say that I've had the grace and luck to always get the real problem child scenarios, and funny place to park. But I try to be, you know, I try to use information that I can find and come up with my best plan. Most of it's based on what I can do. I'm working out of a carport. I don't have a lift. I've just got a jack and jack stands. You know, what most folks would have that work on vehicles, like casually. I would like a lift, but I also need a garage to put it in, so I can't get the cart in front of the horse yet. But when I do my process, I try to do everything that's within my capabilities with what I have. Now, there are some instances where I'm tool limited, and I'm not going to buy 1,000 tools to potentially do some work, especially if it means, well, now I've got these specific tools, but I'm still working on the ground, where otherwise I would be on a lift. So I would like to do all that in one fell swoop, hopefully within the next year or two. You know, I just got to be patient with that process, because the money's not there, and I can't magically make, you know, 30 grand fall into my pocket just for a building, and then probably another 20 to 30 grand on stuff, you know, AC and a lift. You know, those are going to be probably 10 grand combined on the cheap. So but don't be dissuaded from doing your own stuff, but just try to come at it from a different perspective, you know. And if you start getting into a scenario where you feel like it's going to be above your pay grade, because most of the engine stuff is super straightforward. Unbolt one thing, remove it, unbolt one other thing, remove it, you know. Don't be afraid of interference, you know. A lot of people say, oh, you got to take half the engine apart to get to it. It's like, yeah, you know, that's because that's where the component is. If it's something you can do from the engine bay, do it. Especially if the vehicle's already broke down. Get out here, turkey bird. Especially if the piece of equipment, you know, lawnmower, tractor, car, truck, van, motorcycle, whatever, if it's already broke, then it's got to get fixed anyway. You know, worst case scenario, you get it if it was drivable, even though it wasn't working correctly. You can't drive it to the shop. Have them come pick it up. Most shops will pick your vehicle up for free as long as you're not 9 million miles away, and you pay them for work to repair. Now, if you have them tow it there and diagnose it for you and tow it back, you're going to pay a tow bill. But most of the time they'll pick up the tow bill because they have those resources set aside specifically for business. You know, they're trying to drum up business, and if picking up a broke down car gets them a $800 or $1,800 or $5,000 repair bill, then so be it. You know, they have that stuff. I've even seen places that, you know, they would buy a shop truck and put, you know, basically set it up for towing any type of vehicle they would sell. And then when they had to go fix something, they would just take their shop truck and go get it and come back, you know. Harley Davidson, the one over here in Montgomery, I had an issue. The bike wasn't drivable. Not my fault. It was just an electrical failure for the throttle by wire system. Guy come out in the truck, hauled it off. I mean, it couldn't have got simpler. But you have to look for things like that and understand that, you know, it's okay if something breaks. It's better than having a big old, you know, ginormous payment on something. You know, this is a 04 Ford Explorer. Yeah, it shifts bad, but it It's reliable, it runs good, AC's cold, heat's hot, charges my phone if I need it to. It does a whole lot of things that a modern car can do. Granted, I don't have a backup camera or a touchscreen, but if you have to have that stuff, a couple $100, you're all set. But zero payment. A new Explorer, you know, with okay credit and not a history of you know, a good credit history, you're still going to be paying $500-600 on it every single month for 5 or 6 years. And if the computer tells it to turn off and not work, it's going to turn off and not work. This thing, it has to break down to break down. It's not a, whoa, the software update shut it down. So think about those things when you're weighing in on getting a new vehicle, you know, especially I hunt down vehicles that I think I'll enjoy and I'll use. So I'm not buying something so everybody else thinks it's cool. I'm buying it for me. You know, if somebody else likes it, swell. If they don't, whatever. It's not your car. You know, go look at your car if you like it. Don't care. That's how I try to do business most of the time, because I'm the one that has to take care of it. So if I can, I will. And I would recommend that for you. So anyway, I did get the troubleshooting performed, I believe, to at least a better result. I won't say perfect. I might do that process a couple of times and see if it kind of thins out, maybe cycling that capacitor system in there by draining it and letting it recharge and relearn, and doing that a few times, you know, like once a week for a month or something. If it doesn't, it may not be done learning yet. That was the first drive with it. So if it gets better, I'll update you. And if it gets worse, I'll update you about that too. So anyway, have a super blessed day. Go to church if you can, and catch y'all on the next one.